There is too much drama that has happened on this channel, which I will dive deeper on this Sunday. Stay tuned for that, but let's get to happier and more exciting things. The movie that I saw last night. You're telling me that Rahul Sadasivan is going to release his next horror film after Bhoothakaalam and Bramayugam, and like Halloween Horror Night, you're going to do late night screenings one day prior to its release? You bet your ass going to be there, even if it's a midnight showcasing. Halloween just had the perfect start. Irae, the Latin title translating to the Day of Wrath, is the Malayalam movie offering this Halloween. And it makes my life in covering Malayalam cinema come full circle, where finally there is a venture where both me and the Malayalam subscriber base can struggle with the pronunciation of the movie title. The title itself is defined as a Latin hymn sung in a mass for the dead. It describes the last judgment, where the trumpet summons souls before the throne of God, where the saved will be delivered and the unsaved cast into eternal flames. I'm absolutely blown away by the marketing of this movie that has exposed absolutely nothing about the plot. This strategy is so exclusive to Kerala that I am blown away by the patronage that is being showcased to the film. With huge advance bookings for the movie merely depending on the favorable word of mouth and riveting and exciting trailers that again absolutely gave away nothing about this film's plot. This is an extension of an audience that is just obsessed with movies and nothing more. I cannot even deduce anything else as it just cannot be replicated in the Hindi market. The cast and the director have literally given no interviews regarding the themes the film will focus on and are purely putting the power with the audience to decide whether this venture is worth their money or not. I will not mention anything other than what the teasers and trailers have showcased, and all I will describe regarding the plot is that Pranav Mohanlal plays the role of Rohan, who is an architect and is dealing with several ominous and eerie elements that seem to take over his house. What is specifically leading to him having sleepless nights seeking for help in the same regard is the storyline you will explore when you step into the theatre for this film. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the movie so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Irae in theatres or not. The underwhelming aspects. The language switch and reaction. This may be an unpopular opinion off the bat, for it may be representative of a particular demographic that I am not well versed with, but Pranav Mohanlal in this movie plays a privileged and entitled brat who benefits from the wealth of his father. This naturally leads to him having a cadence people associate with those who hail from affluent societies and hang around with people from the same economic status. There is a twang in which they speak where they roll their R's, and there almost seems to be like a laid-back attitude regarding most things, even the most stressful, anxiety-inducing events. I was trying to speak exactly like the way he does in the film. This cadence is natural when he is surrounded by his peers in the movie. He exclaims to a friend after a football match, "Hey, do you have a spliff?" And it's appropriate for the group he is interacting with. However, Rohan is often found interacting with Jibin Gopinath's character in this film in order to have some guidance regarding the indescribable events taking place in his house, and he often describes these things and reacts to him in English, while Jibin Gopinath speaks in fluent Malayalam only. It's rather odd that these English lines are always reactions to Malayalam lines. Jibin Gopinath does not say a word of English, yet Pranav, in an odd fashion throughout the film, keeps on transitioning to English with broken Malayalam while wanting to communicate with him. I understand that he comes from a privileged section of society, so it's almost a natural impulse for him to react in what he is most comfortable in. However, even the most privileged chap will switch and adapt dependent on what the other person is comfortable with. However, in this case, the duo seem to find some odd balance with the lines with which they communicate with each other. I cannot fault Pranav Mohanlal's performance in this film at all, but there is one moment where he sees an absolutely horrifying sight in the pre-interval. I can't even tell you on how horrifying that scene is. It gave me flashbacks to how traumatized I was when I watched Hereditary. So for any normal person, that image itself will absolutely mortify you. But the frame that focuses on Pranav reacting to that ghastly image is almost of helplessness versus shock and trauma. I found that to be an odd creative choice, but other than that one brief frame, the performances of this film are absolutely brilliant. Arguable loopholes. I cannot dive deep on the themes that will essentially expand on this point, but the quality of the movie is so technically proficient that you almost get overwhelmed after stepping out of the theatre. The unanimous and overwhelming positive response of the previews is testament to that, for Rahul Sadasivan has proven himself as probably one of the most influential creative voices in the horror genre today. However, when you do analyze, as is my job over here, you start seeing the cracks in the screenplay emerge as the film progresses to its concluding moments. There are many unanswered questions. There are a few revelations that do not reach closure. The supernatural elements and why they target specific individuals is in some cases vague, and the film is ideal for a spoiler-filled analysis later on because there are several theories that can spring up, as a lot of the resolution regarding some of the subplots are left to be assumed by the audience. Also, I must tell you that the film does transition from a horror film to an investigative thriller in the second half, so be prepared for that transition versus expecting it to be a full-blown horror film. Irae will absolutely sway you for its technical brilliance, even hooking you with its ultimate reveal till the very end. However, a retrospective analysis may make you question the arguable loopholes that seem to get exposed in the process. Hopefully, we can dive deep on that in a few days. The good. Impeccable sound design and score. I cannot tell you on how brilliant the sound design of this movie is. What is termed as SFX in this film is absolutely masterful. Jayadevan Chakkadat is responsible for the same, and the film is largely dependent on this department with the exceptional score and music of Christo Xavier. There is an absolute art to managing levels in movies, which include dialogues, the score, and for natural and man-made elements around the characters to make noise in order to tactfully shift focus of the audience. And that is the main hook of this movie from the very first scene. A foreshadowing of something morbid on the horizon is indicated through glass breaking, followed by the bells of the church ringing in the background as the wind grows faster and the bright sky becomes grey, all carefully shifting our focus through distinct sounds. The cold open of this movie immediately hooked me, for it presented such a creepy image before the opening title appeared that I knew I was tuning in for a treat. The consistent feature about the film, and Rohan specifically, is how he deals with the indescribable happening around him, and it is by dousing himself in sound. Whether it be musical tracks on his speaker in the house, the music player in his car, or drowning himself in the sound of a drum session, almost to lose himself in the moment rather than be distracted by the supernatural elements that take over the house. And all of this is presented with such flair, it almost makes me want you to watch it on the big screen for how technically brilliant the sound design is. Christo Xavier also leaves no stone unturned in absolutely investing us in the world and fear the worst, using the melody representative of death, often with trumpets, that has been used in classics when associated with the title and hymn Dies Irae. It's atmospheric and so effective. Speaking of which, not depending on horror tropes. When I create an association with generic horror films, they are associated with elements like jump scares and a lot of exposition. And this film, for the most part, is refreshingly devoid of that. What I love about Rahul Sadasivan's last three films is that the abode in which the characters reside often take the shape of becoming characters themselves. You saw this with the establishments of both Bhoothakaalam and Bramayugam. The house in which the supernatural elements torment the characters is something the audience becomes well versed with. The geography becomes familiar to us, and like the characters, we also know the crevices in the rooms to avoid. The atmosphere created by Shehnaz Jalal is so effective, it has this consistent ability to have this simmering tension that demands for a more active participation from the audience versus relying on shock elements just for exaggerated reactions. It's a tight 1 hour and 55 minute running time, and I have to say, even for a late night show and a long day, I just could not help myself but in multiple instances draw closer to the screen for how progressively invested I was getting. The brilliance of doubt and the performances. Pranav Mohanlal as the privileged, entitled and somewhat guilt-ridden Rohan is brilliant in this film. A lot of what the movie demands from the actor is to imagine his surroundings, and that can be extremely complex. for you are demanded to have impulsive reactions to inanimate objects or movements around you that don't exist. But Pranav Mohanlal executes such a complex act with brilliance. There is this one sequence especially that stands out for me where he seems to be choked and it genuinely seemed like he was being strangled, absolutely investing for the role both physically and emotionally. Jibin Gopinath is also brilliant in this movie, providing help and aid to Pranav almost as the guiding light in this venture, a symbol of hope when surrounded by despair. Arun Ajay Kumar in his brief role is spectacular too, brilliantly showcasing the anxiety one is dealing with, constantly fidgety and uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact at all costs, and really showcasing the broken human spirit one can get into the rut of when dealing with traumatic situations in life. There is one character that honestly, I would like you to explore in this movie yourself without revealing anything about them. The brilliance of this movie is that the personalities of the characters are organically fleshed out as the running minutes pass by. And this puts you on an observation table as a viewer, doubting everyone and their real intentions. And this is the perfect place to be as a viewer because you genuinely doubt everyone, piquing your interest till the ultimate reveal. No one is really a saint here, and that's what makes the journey so special. Huge credit for the same needs to go to writer and director Rahul Sadasivan, who is honestly 3 on 3 with this venture. I haven't seen his debut film. This is a competent horror film that I thoroughly enjoyed. Yes, I did have some problems because I have a lot to discuss regarding some of the elements that were left unanswered, but it is so technically proficient. It is an example of such interesting concepts being explored in the horror genre in Malayalam cinema. It's such a brilliant extension of effective marketing and it's solely being based on the quality of the film. It's such a great example of efficient filmmaking, not needing heavy CGI elements to generate scares, that I can't help but recommend this movie. Especially for horror film fans, there will be so much that you will explore and love, really making it a fruitful and enjoyable journey with a lot to look forward to in the coming years. You know what I'm talking about. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought of DS Irae. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handles are right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.